Hello, and welcome to Be Your Own Advocate. So today we have a special show here with Isaiah Fliessbach, and we're going to talk about a new show that we're going to add into our selection of programming. And this one comes from both of our hearts and the hearts of, the producer and of the show. And it's going to be called Care Heroes. And this comes to light because of our awareness from Be Your Own Advocate of caregivers and how many there are, and all the different walks of life and all the ways that they become caregivers and what they have to give up in their own life to become caregivers. And whether it's a parent with an autistic child, or it's a child with an aging parent, or people that have all these chronic conditions that make them have days of pain where they can't function, and you have to be there to help them. The amount of love that comes from being a caregiver, and the amount of exhaustion that comes from being a caregiver. So Isaiah and I were talking about what an important topic it is, and to bring recognition to people that care, our caregivers. So we wanted to feature a person and hear their story, because oftentimes it can make a difference. Recently, my daughter had gotten sick, an incident with an autoimmune condition, ended up in the hospital. I haven't been in a hospital in however long, but immediately I was in a hospital 24/7, and caring and being concerned and giving up anything in my own life that might have been going on in order to bring my focus there. And that was a immediate awareness of how you have to turn on a dime. Sometimes you just turn on a dime and change your life to be a caregiver. And so we have come up with this topic, right? Caregiver, care hero. We went and looked at the National Institute of Caregivers, and we were amazed at how many people are registered, let alone how many people just aren't registered and they just do it because it's what came in front of on their path. And so what do you think, Isaiah? Say your thoughts. I always love your thoughts.
I do. And I feel like, very few people identify as a hero, a care hero. They're going to be like, no, it's just what I do. I'm just a good son, daughter, friend, parent. But the reality is you're heroic. What it takes to set yourself aside and really show up for someone and help navigate through a system that's not supporting that, whatever it is, it's extremely taxing, financially, mentally, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It challenges your life in really intense ways. So I want to celebrate people and get more resources for myself. Primarily, what I'm sharing with others is always about something I'm learning for myself. So I have a 96-year-old grandmother who's living in a small 5-person care facility here near us. I've been involved in her directly, caring for her the last several years. My parents are going through different health issues. There's so many situations that bring it to the forefront for me, as I have young kids and elderly people I'm caring for
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of all of it. And I'm understanding the impact, positive and negative impacts of it, and the need to feel supported, celebrated, and to get the needs met of the person who is in that role. So anything I can do to bring light to that for you and for myself is what I'm interested in. And I want to celebrate people who are doing it and exemplifying that quality and able to maintain a high quality of life as they do that. I'd love to elevate them, bring it to the, and help them share their vision as well,
Mm-hmm.
as we celebrate them.
Yeah, and provide information to others. So like places for support or benefits. I had a client of mine recently who had been living with her parents, for her whole life in a way. Her mom and dad, very close, very happy. But within a year, both of them, her parents had passed on. So what she was dealing with was she wasn't a caregiver anymore. And what she had this kind of absence of purpose and tremendous grief that she was feeling as far as what's my life. My life was as a caregiver, and now that I'm not, the people that I was caring for are gone. What do I do? So there's just, not just while you're being the caregiver, but after you are no longer the caregiver, and how do you find new purpose? And there's probably a lot of resources or places for people to go. There's probably small organizations, big organizations that we can investigate and have, be an advocate for, caregivers all over the country as to where they can go to find information, to find support, to find a community, right? So they don't feel like alone, like where they're carrying. Also, I find that, sometimes in a family, there's one person that seems to come out as that person that's going to be the caregiver and take on that main responsibility. I think that's an interesting thing too. How do you not become resentful? How do you carry that burden alone? That's going to be an interesting way to explore it as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to do this, have a segment once a month. We'll do a Care Hero segment where we feature somebody that is a hero in our eyes and probably the eyes of whoever they're taking care of, because it's a big sacrifice. And we're going to do that and add that, and then see how we can provide more and more information and places where people can go to sometimes find financial support, because it is a big financial, I don't want to use the word burden, but I will, financial burden, financial responsibility.
Yeah.
And sometimes that person can't work as much because they're spending time being, taking care of somebody. And it's going to be fun.
As I faced taking care of my grandmother, my wife one day was like, it's just what we do, right? I was feeling the burden and the heaviness of it and the responsibility, and like, man, I'm so taxed and overwhelmed with everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but that's what we're here to do, take care of family, and it's like so basic and so true. And yet, how do we take on that everyday responsibility and take care of ourselves and actually, find ourselves and evolve through this process? Because there's a huge opportunity here as we, support people as they're dying, as they're facing real limitations. How do we integrate it? Because it can be overwhelming. It can be easily something we just want to shut off from and walk away from. And many people do just walk away from their family members because they can't handle it emotionally. And there's so many examples we can get into, but
yeah, it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I love this topic. I'm excited to explore more.
Even what you said before, like with dying, like that's another area of how do you help a person face that final chapter and the emotional responsibility that goes with that. That would be good to have. There's people, what are the people called that help people? There's people that actually help people cross over. I can't, what?
Chaplain is an example of someone who
yeah, but there's actually people that do it, that actually kind of call them in. I have to find that. I'll find it though. I'll find that information. And there's actually somebody I know that does it that would be a really good guest for that, because that's another big part of it. What do you do when it's the end?
Yeah. And it seems like, okay, for me, the idea of dying is one thing. When you're in the presence of someone who's moving towards death, and often what I see is that the brain starts getting diminished, obviously, as you get older. Everyone's moving closer and closer to some state of dementia. As things get more myopic and smaller in their awareness, in their memory, in their function, neurologically and otherwise, then it's like really challenging, because it's like they have less tools to face the process of dying than they did before. And then again, it's on the caregiver to hold space for someone that didn't necessarily do the work necessary to prepare for the death. And then in the process of moving towards the death, they didn't have the tools, they didn't do the work before, and now they have diminished brain. So it's like, how do we, really, it's about taking care of yourself, because they can't they can't integrate what needs to be integrated. Only we can. And
Yeah.
so it's a significant role.
Yeah. It's going to be great. So we're going to be starting that, and we'll have an email address. Somebody, if you know somebody, you want to nominate somebody to be a care hero, we would love that. Here, we have a lot of people already to talk to because there's just so many of them in different areas, but we're just going to open it up and let it grow and become that great, have resource directory somehow. It'll be fun. It'll be really interesting, and it's so needed. So it's going to be a good one for us, Isaiah. So that's the newest news from Be Your Own Advocate. And thank you so much, as always, Isaiah, for being my co-host. I love working with you. The discussions are always so good. So
yeah, it's a really fun process. I enjoy this.
Yeah.
A lot of growing, a lot of good opportunities to meet new people and explore. And yeah, I'm excited to celebrate some people.
Yeah, great. Thank you.